Hello, everybody, and welcome to Stat Check. This is episode 55. 8 wins is all Khorne wanted. We're here to talk about all things
65.
Warhammer. That's what I said, I think.
No, you said 55.
Definitely said 55.
Sure. They're
We're
basically the
stuffing-
same number.
We're starting
Those
out
are
the stuff
similar if
real
you
early
squint.
today.
Look, frankly, if you guys hadn't said anything, no one ever would have said anything, and we could have just kept rolling with it. So this is on YouTube.
Take the L and move on, Innes. Take the L and move on.
I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you're all having a wonderful time. We are here to talk about all things stats, Warhammer, and all that kind of stuff. Apologies for starting a couple minutes late. Anthony was Diabloing, and we didn't notice until a little too late. And then we started talking about some other stuff, and then we got into some conversation, and then we realized that we were 5 minutes past the start. So here we are. Apologies. We are ready to go into all things. Main thing for this week being Tampa just happened, which was an interesting tournament. As somebody viewing it from the outside, I felt like everything I know about Warhammer was confirmed to LGT and then thrown in the bin at Tampa.
America.
So
It's definitely
They just play a
Florida
different
thing.
game up here.
It's
Or down there, I guess.
I think it was. I have to imagine it was the heat just getting to everybody. But there were, 18 Von Ryans and Ravenerless doing well. Sisters won the tournament. Nick playing Mutilate, Noctilith Crowns. I don't want to know, frankly. It's all stuff that just made me think I'm going to have to explain a bunch of this because that's what my job is, and I don't know how to. So I've decided to just go with nope, and just like throw the papers in the air and sprint anytime anyone asks me a question about how the Sisters list works. I just refuse to accept it. Anthony, I don't know how that's been for you. If any clients have spoken to you about that.
No, people don't ask me about sisters. They know better when they sign up for coaching with me.
that's
How do
entirely
I beat
fair.
sisters? Because apparently Jack doesn't know.
Yeah.
Ooh. Harsh. I feel like the entire our warehouse could sit in on that class and get something out of it from Anthony.
Yeah. Well, you can't just entirely disrespect the person you're playing in the top cut of the undefeated bracket, it turns out.
Or
that doesn't
go
that doesn't
second on
sound right.
Servo Skulls, for that matter.
I hear that's not great for you, yeah. Anyway, how is everybody getting on? Let's start top left. Nathan, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I don't know. I don't play 40k anymore. I just kind of do stuff, and it kind of pretends that 40k exists. I don't know. I did play a couple games of Warhammer 40k over the weekend. I continue to play Tyranids and continue to be disappointed at the amount of damage they don't do to things. I don't know. I watched that army just unable to damage anything higher than T8 and kind of shrug about it, but still somehow win with like a Spore Mine somehow deploying a teleport homer. There's a reason why this weekend I'm getting color added to my Spore Mine tattoo on my leg, and that's because Spore Mines have held up every Tyranid army that I've played, basically, which is funny. Yeah, other than that, I don't know. I continue to paint this Avatar of Cain for a painting contest locally. I've been focusing a lot more on hobbying and playing a minimal amount of games, although I'm going to be playing a lot more games now that I'm on a Teams thing for this TTS Teams league. I've accepted that I'm the weakest link on the TTS team that I'm on, and that's just how it's going to be. But I'm going to treat it. I'm going to treat it like a Crusade League and score 200 points somehow at the end. I don't know.
Yep. I think that'll be fine. You can't possibly have a difficult time with that event.
Nathan's army gets one Crusade rule for the TTS League.
That's a mistake. A terrible mistake.
I've been around Crusade players long enough to know that's a terrible, terrible idea.
That Hive Tyrant ignores invulnerable saves again. I don't know.
None of us have read the Crusade rules enough to know if that's a dangerous thing to offer, Nathan.
It usually
It's
is.
true.
Crusade is where the wild things are.
That's strength 9, -2 Hive Tyrant ignores the invuln saves. Oh, fuck. You could just told me he does that, and I would have been like,
yeah,
okay.
That's fair. Although it's way funnier because that Hive Tyrant has now killed multiple characters in melee combat at this point. Like 2 of Jeremy's.
He's good at.
No, he killed 2 of Seth's calls, rather. He kills random nonsense characters he gets into contact with. He's like, hi, I murder you, goodbye. And that's all he does.
Murder's a strong word.
Stiff Breathes tends to kill most calls I've played with.
It's true. Also, I haven't actually read the Crusade rules for this edition at all.
I knew that there was a document that allowed you to move your Crusade to 10th, and it got a bunch of people mad, but I didn't.
I haven't looked at the Crusade. You have to buy a second rule book now to play Crusade in this edition. There's a Crusade book you have to buy that has the rules for Crusade in it. No, there's a separate book that you have to get. I'm almost 100%.
We don't care that hard.
I was very tempted to get up and go find my book.
The most important thing is it's not in the app, which means that even GW don't think it's real. So, so let's move on. Anthony, how about yourself? You also, like the rest of us, didn't do cool stuff, so we'll save Jeremy for last.
What did I do last weekend? I finished Cyberpunk. That was cool. No, I finished the game for actual. I did all the things.
You got all the endings?
No, but I did enough. You can watch the rest on YouTube. There's enough. I completed a run at whatever. Anyway, yeah. I played that game too much in the window that I played it. I played one game of 40k, 2 games of 40k since the last time I was here. They have all been with world leaders. I'm just going to play them until they get nerfed in January. And
Thanks, Jack.
yes, let's blame Jack for that. Yeah, they've been super fun. The meta is really weird right now. You can pretty much do whatever you want because you can all hold hands and lose to Eldar and CSM together. Yay!
Yay!
And that's pretty much it. Nothing super interesting, honestly.
Fair enough.
Oh, I'm going to see Cliff this weekend. Yay!
Hell yeah. Cliff's
Yeah.
a wonderful human being. How's the Team America selection stuff going for you guys? You've just closed selections, right?
Yeah, so we closed applications on like 3 days ago, which was funny because a couple people played other people at Tampa on the Sunday, which was after applications were closed. But Ben didn't pay attention to which day it was and was like, "You should apply." And then Ben told us that he told them that, and I was like, "Hey Ben, just so you know, you can't fucking read days, can you?" So that was kind of funny for a couple of minutes, and then that was pretty much it. But yeah, things are closed. We are in the process of voting for who will make it through to the get interviewed by Sean step. And then from there, players go from there to being on the academy team, which is what we refer to our prospect group from last year as now. So yeah, it'll be sweet. We'll find out who the new people are soon, which means that I can take the new people and bully them into going to Pyra and Euro Treasure Cup.
This is the funniest thing because it's true.
Yeah, no, that's real true. I think people would be mildly confused how I would be Cliff's son, but adoption exists, I guess. So
Genetics do fun things all the time.
That's true. I don't know that they would make a person that's nearly 2 feet shorter than you, and yeah, whatever. I mean, that's possible, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, that's the US stuff. Team USA is going strong, doing things, looking to be doing more things soon.
Good. Glad to hear it. I'm glad things have solidified into a reasonable process for you guys because it always sounds like your selections went crazily. Would be in previous years would be a way to describe it, off the rails fairly quickly sometimes.
I mean, last year was fine.
Last year was fine, but that was because you guys had started this process, right?
Yeah,
so
I mean, before that point, it was above my pay grade, so I don't know.
That's fair. It's the reason that's weird, says Brian.
Yeah. Brian gets it.
I wouldn't exactly call last year's process fine.
Last year's process was fine once we had a real captain.
There's the caveat.
Yeah, whatever. That was no fault of the process.
That's fair and reasonable.
Well, the process only existed because of that captain, right? So
what? I mean, look, we got there eventually. It was just a little bumpy.
That's fair. Thanks, Nassim. Well done, pal. As for myself, I went to a little RTT this weekend. I tried out the new Iron Storm. It is the dullest list I've played in a long time. You just sit there with your dreadnoughts and your whirlwinds and you shoot things, and you kind of if I get 5 turns of doing this and it doesn't die, you'll lose by a little bit. And otherwise, you lose a Redemptor slightly too early, and it's well, I sure can't leave my deployment zone. So I went 2-1 with that. It was fine. The 2 wins were big. The loss was small. Happy with that in terms of learning the list concept. Not a list that I'm super gassed to be playing long term. I'm gonna have a look for some other things in that book to try and see what I like. I really want to play some of the Salamander stuff. I like the idea of just throwing Inceptors at people with +1 to wound and making their life go bad, which does seem tempting.
No.
outside that, I don't know if I mentioned about this. All my family's away right now, so I'm just like in the house by myself, and it's the first time it's been like this since basically like pre-COVID, and I'm going a little mental, which is nice. I'm enjoying it. Doing nothing, just like the house is so much cleaner than it normally is. It's great. I just like get to like keep the place tidy. It's great. Turns out it's everyone else and the dog that are the problem, not me.
Yeah,
my room is the cleanest it's been in years. I don't know what's going on. It's very confusing. It's all going to go bad on Monday when I'm back from my other event.
Yeah.
Besides that, yeah, I've got an event at the weekend. I'm playing CSM for that one. It's going to be great fun. It should be Brian's last event in America, or Brian's last event before he leaves for Team America. So I'm going to make sure he gets the good old Scottish goodbye and crushed into the ground 4 times. That's the dream anyway. Anthony, reach out if you need a reference, by the way. I can tell you about all what he's like behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have a pretty good, like, insight into Brian after spending, like, no shit, like, 25 days in his house.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good idea of what he's like. There's a lot of napping and Monster Hunter.
And it's just discovered why people become adults to live alone.
See, that's the
truth
like
of the matter, though, is I never would have figured that Innes was the clean person in his family until he said that he got hyper-focused on cleaning.
Everything is spotless and it's not changed in 4 days. And I'm like, if I don't touch anything...
Oh, so it's not that he's clean, it's just
he doesn't
No.
anything
It didn't
outside of
start
his
clean.
4
It was just like, if I just make sure everything is clean now and then I don't interact with it except to make food, it'll stay clean and then I don't have to do more effort. That's basically been the sideline into keeping things clean. So that's been working. I don't know. We'll see how long it lasts. If you guys see me like next Tuesday and I've like eaten an arm off or something like that, and like there's like fire behind me, then you'll know what happened on like day 4 and 5 of me being home alone.
That's fair.
Sending somebody on a wellness check for Innes halfway through.
Chris has been sending me dog pictures every day to make sure I don't go mad. It's been very cute.
It's adorable, actually.
It's quite adorable. I did ask him if he was doing wellness checks. He was like, "No, I just want to send you pictures of the dogs." And I'm like, "You're doing wellness checks. It's okay. It's fine."
Just keep it
Now, as the person who did the most interesting things this weekend, Jeremy, how was Tampa?
It was a good time. It was, so for anyone who isn't aware or doesn't follow, I was helping out with the U.S. Open in Tampa Bay this past weekend, which I'm just going to say right now, there was a stark contrast between Tacoma back in July and Tampa this past weekend.
Is that because at Tampa you could kick servo skulls off the table?
No, we did not allow that.
Oh, even though it's technically the rules?
Please don't start this with me again. So yes, there was a moment Sunday morning when I wanted to put some people through a wall for suggesting that you could do that. Yeah, it was fun. Lots and lots of fun. But yeah, no, we didn't allow that. It very much.
You didn't allow that.
No, actually, no one on the judge team
was ultimately allowed to allow that. It
was asked of other people, and I do remember at one point it being referred to as there is no rules that say that a dog can't play basketball moment.
That's true.
So we are not airbutting 40K, thankfully.
That's basically what letting me give yourself
Servo
like
skull
feels like.
Yeah, servo skull bud.
Yeah. I was reminded once again why I will never ever put servo skulls in a pack for an event that I run.
That you take seriously, right? It's not like it's like a joke. They left it in like on accident. Like a copy editor got drunk and was like, that'll be funny in Crusade, and then they took Crusade out.
We're going to be playing it at the World Champs, so
we should run a 5-round servo skulls tournament for the next one.
Just 5 rounds.
5 rounds alternating servo skulls and ritual.
Yeah, that's what I said, Kerry. I wouldn't play it at an event I'm taking seriously.
But yes, it was a good weekend. Overall, it was a really fun time. The majority of players there were just absolutely. We'll get to that in a little while. I've got some fun stories, some I can tell, some I won't tell, and some that I can share right now. But the most fun during the weekend is just seeing everybody enjoying themselves playing 40K, because there was a distinct difference in people's approach to the game than back in July, which we don't have any numbers this week because spoiler alert, I got back yesterday night, so we haven't gone through those yet. But like the meta looks better. Yes, sometimes you lose to Eldar, sometimes you lose to CSM, sometimes an entire brick of Wraithguard get deleted by a single Forge Fiend.
That can happen. It's very unlikely, but it can happen.
Happened in the Shadow Round.
The literal Shadow Round.
Yeah. All right. So anyone who's asking, there are some photos circulating around from the Shadow Round, which is, if anyone who doesn't know, at the end of round 6, because of the pod system and the way that it's done, there's going to be 8 people that are undefeated in the top bracket. You need to have 4 people undefeated in order to have 1 best general at the end of the day Sunday, because there's only 2 rounds on Sunday. So there's a round 7 that is played amongst those 8 people. And these, the event ends on Saturday at 8 o'clock for most people, but we don't start the Shadow Round until everyone else has finished their games. In this particular case, 1 game went until, I think it was close to 8:45, which meant that we didn't start the Shadow Round until nearly 9 o'clock, and the last Shadow Round game went past midnight. What people had, I don't know how it happened, but facilities thought that that we were all gone, and so the lights automatically turned off at midnight. All of the venue lights turned off at midnight. So there's a photo circulated around of a half dozen of us standing around the Shadow Round table with cell phone lights, and one of the BCP guys actually had like a proper like battery powered lamp to keep things going. And so the last 25 or 30 minutes, I can't remember exactly how long of that game, were played by cell phone light, and it was very funny and also very, very exhausting.
It is certainly one of
It's got big Brian and Boris playing outside the toilets at Leicester vibe.
No, the best part about this was one of the guys one of the fellows who was dealing with logistics and all that got on the phone as soon as the lights went out and said, "Hey, we need these lights back on." The minute we started walking out of the venue after the Shadow Round was completed, the lights came back up.
If only there was some type of way to like keep track of how much time has passed in a 40K game to perhaps encourage both parties to finish in a more reasonable time frame.
It sounds like communism.
Yeah. Anyway.
Jesus. But yeah, one of the things that I found interesting is that people have become much more amenable to the changes that happened between 9th and 10th in sort of core rules and mechanic changes. They've also become much more, and again, this is just comparing my experience over the last like 4 or 5 events that I've judged, and also stands in a stark contrast to the tail end of 9th, where things are a lot easier to explain to players, especially when you stop dealing with weird edge cases in the wrong way.
Right.
Such as, that again sounds like you should deal with things in the wrong way more often. Like it's you can get good practice that way for doing weird judge calls.
Yep, I did make one mistake this weekend, but that one's been well addressed.
Well, now you have to tell us. Like you can't just leave it hanging like that.
I shouldn't go into too much detail, but basically, I thought it was a different battle round when I was talking to a player.
Whoops.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That'll do it.
Yeah, we won't go into.
Shit happens. I don't know. I like that you guys had the old night fight rules basically, but for yourselves for that last game, for that game of the Shadow Round. Just good old fashioned night fight.
See, the worst part about it was normally in that kind of situation, we're not supposed to, but in that kind of situation, I mean, you don't really want a judge ever telling you can't come back and win. But we have had games that have been like, look, you're down by 30 points and you have 2 units left. You're not coming back. It's battle round 3. Can we just call it? Because Shadow Round points don't matter. It's just a win or a loss. But this game was a 2-point game at the end of 5. So it was just like, and it was decided by a Forge Fiend not failing a Dark Pact test because it had 3 wounds left, and him holding his home objective and scoring Defend Stronghold for 3 points to win the game.
Yeah. Cool.
Fair enough.
Good Warhammer. I mean, that's good Warhammer.
That is good Warhammer to me. Like, it is one of these things where, like, it comes down to a single dice roll at the end as a result of where you've positioned everything and what resources you have available to you. I like that. But yeah, the Forge Fiend picking up in that was the same game that same Forge Fiend picked up an entire brick of Wraithguard.
That guy's a hero. He needs a
Yeah,
raise.
Profane Zeal, it turns out, is really good, and so is Blast into 10-man bricks.
Oh, fuck, you don't say. Especially having 3 fucking Blast guns. Who wrote Blast? I want that guy's address. I'm gonna send him just like a fucking glitter bomb. Nothing crazy, but like, god damn it.
Oh, was it
Are you going to send him 3 glitter bombs and tell him to open one if there's more
Different
than
Forge
5
Fiend.
people in his house?
So it was the Nurgle Forge Fiend that that lived, and the undivided one that died.
All right. I have like very basic stats for the weekend just from counting GT wins, and that's all I got. CSM have the most GT wins. They won 5 events. Eldar won 4.
let's go, boys.
Eldar won 4 events. And then Sisters, Orcs, Gene Sealer, Cult, Death Guard, Dark Angels, and Votan each won an event for 25 plus player events with 5 or more rounds. I do view that Eldar and CSM have 9 GT wins between each other as a problem that may be unfolding, because we're starting to see kind of what we were seeing before the balance patch a little bit, where we had 2 factions winning basically everything and then nobody else winning anything. But it could also be an aberration for the week where we didn't have a ton of 5-round, 25 plus player events. But that's a lot of events.
There were a lot of big events though, because
This is true.
You had obviously to Tampa Bay. You had Kipper's Melee, which was a golden ticket event, if I remember correctly, out in BC, which was a 103 person event.
Mm-hmm.
You had, the list goes on. I have them open in front of me, so I can actually go through like the major events. So like,
you have Tampa Bay, Kippers, Fantasia, Gem City, and I think Medhammer were the largest events of the weekend.
Yep.
In
yeah,
that
like even
order.
Denver Fight Club was over 60 people.
Yep.
You had, was it Kirktonian? No, Kirktonian was one of the smaller ones. Packing Order
Kirktonian
was
was one of the small
a
ones,
decent sized one with 64 players. Then you had Gem City, which is 69 players. Nice. Medhammer was 64 players. Like there were a lot of like 60 plus player events.
Yep. And Eldar won the larger events for the most part, except for Sisters and Orcs, who won Tampa Bay and Kippers. Pecking and Denver Fight Club, which were also around 61, are won by CSM. And then it's like Brighton, Dark Sphere, Second Austrian, Last of the Summer, Mallorca, Crotonian, and Oceanic. But we'll see if this bears out for more than a week.
Yeah.
I think it's worth watching because this kind of absorption into 2 factions isn't good for the game, but it is nice to see that more factions broadly are winning events on a week-to-week basis. It would just be nice to see like the 5 GT wins from CSM and the 4 GT wins for Eldari kind of spread out, maybe like 1 or 2 off into other factions.
Hey, Death Guard won a GT for the first time.
That's true.
They did, and Votan won.
Sisters' first win too.
Yes, it was Sisters.
And Sisters got 5 on top of that as well, right?
They got a 5-0 on top of that. Yeah, friend of the show and patron Brendan finished 3rd at Kippers with a 5-0 result with Sisters. Donald Plummer, who is in chat and friend of the show, also finished 5-0, and I believe it was with Tau. Yeah. I haven't looked at data because I've been.
I think Mr. Plummer mostly plays Tau.
Look, he might have shifted it up.
It's possible. It seems unlikely. I think he also won best overall, I'm pretty sure. So
nice. Congratulations, Donald.
Yeah. And then we'll put all the rest of the stats, and if you're in the Discord, we'll throw up an announcement when the data is done and it gets uploaded to the dashboard so you guys can look at how win rate's tracking. Probably be more interested in the 4-week rolling average that comes with the like actual trend lines that we've shown on the regular. So we won't be showing any images this week. Brian, I don't know why you sent us a pound, but I appreciate it for random reasons. I don't know. There's nothing with it.
And
it's
also, despite losing in the shadow, shout out to Ben Urich for scoring 783 battle points across 8 games at Tampa Bay.
He
won,
his
last opponent
he won
had an
something.
Awesome score.
Yeah, he won the Battle Master, which is the most battle points. And I think he won it by over 50 points.
Cool.
Definitely a vibe. But yeah, like, I don't know. We'll see if it bears out. The for the most part, the balance patch looked like it addressed a bunch of stuff. CSM and some of these other armies coming up might be a problem. We'll see in a couple weeks. I don't want to say that they're a problem based on 1 week of data, although CSM is kind of floating at that near Eldar range for win rate after the last couple weeks. I think they're around 55-ish.
Oh, okay. You mean post data slate Eldar?
Post slate Eldar, yeah, they're
really
floating
worried.
close to the not
Please.
pre slate Eldar, post slate Eldar.
I would
Sorry,
love
they're
to
floating
see-
around the same win rate as Eldar.
I would love to see what a meta could look like where there wasn't Night Spinners. Think about how interesting and diverse things might be.
That would be lovely.
It definitely would probably just be more CSM. Would that just be more?
Probably, yeah.
Night
And
Spinners
more world
aren't
eaters.
that good into CSM.
Yeah, but you would just see CSM go further along, right?
The shit
Like,
that
I sure would
charges-
enjoy not having to play against them.
Yeah, the shit that charges is coming out of boxes. Everything else is shooting out of reserves. It doesn't matter in that matchup as much.
It sure isn't fun when the young
If the
cards on your home
box
objective because your
dies,
thought died.
then the stuff inside then doesn't go anywhere because of the Night Spinner.
I don't know. Like, it's annoying, but it's like not.
I mean,
it
I
could be
watched this
much
happen
worse. There
across
are other
multiple
armies
games
that
where
is
the
much
box
worse.
died, and then the stuff
This
inside
is,
got hit
this
by
is
a
some
Night Spinner.
really hard theory crafting to go with because it's like what happens to the Eldar army into like every other matchup.
Yeah, just take
I mean,
something
it's
else.
meta skewing for sure.
Yeah.
Meta
have to think.
defining even.
There you go, meta defining.
How many
So that's
less
it for-
boxes could I take?
That is it for the stats, I guess. They're not even stats because all I did was count some stuff and tell you some random nonsense.
It's
So
numbers in a collection. I'd call that statistics. Oh, another shout out for Tampa, Sasha. I'm gonna murder his last name, Edelkraut, winning best overall by going 6-0 in the first 6 rounds with Imperial Fists, and then barely dropping his Shadow Round game to Quinton. It was like a 10-point game, and they played the full 5 games. Oh, full 5 rounds.
I was like, the
Did
full
I-
what now?
did I miss a points increase? Dominic Galliano asked a question in the YouTube chat.
I think
Which
like
do you
the before points increase when it went
Yeah,
up.
it went up
80.
80 like a month ago, and it's still
Yeah.
on every list, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
I was just
every list,
wondering
but
if
a lot
I'd
of them.
missed.
No, nothing
I
else
was
has
just-
changed.
I was just wondering if I'd missed something. Like
So
the last
these guys
day or
actually
two.
5 points now, and the game is fun again.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they just made it so the Incarn couldn't charge after teleporting, that would probably improve a bunch of stuff.
They make it like the 9th edition one where you teleport once per game.
That would
Once per
also work.
Game.
No, the 9th edition
Instead
one
of
could
once-
teleport multiple times per.
Yeah, the Incar was
Game.
teleport once
It
per turn before.
It
Oh,
was once per turn.
maybe I was thinking of something else.
But it couldn't
Anyways, make it once
charge
per
after
game.
teleporting. There were
Once per
other
game, and it has to start in reserve to do it.
Oh,
a fancy heroic intervention,
Yeah, it's-
basically.
yeah. I can't believe it's not Sanguinor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
oh,
what it
man.
wasn't. That's what it was in the 8th edition and 9th edition to begin with. So
I don't
That's what I'm
like the
thinking
idea
of
of
is
me
the
putting a
8th edition
Meta
book.
Monday hat on. I don't like that idea at all. Eloise.
Yeah, I
That-
disapprove of that.
Yeah, there's other problems with Meta Monday guys stuff. I appreciate what he does, but there are other.
He's gotten better.
questions
I will give
He
credit
has.
where credit is due. He has gotten better on like actually checking his data.
Does he? Okay,
He does faction checks now.
I'm still not
because he actually
convinced
lists
that he does.
what factions are winning events, like in terms of like detachments.
Then he must be.
And
Okay,
similarly,
that's good.
he
to know.
caught my idiot round 5 opponent from last weekend who left himself his sisters. He was like, no, this wasn't a sisters Votan final. This was a sisters Eldari final.
It's way funnier when
Nice.
sisters just like randomly have event wins and shit because people couldn't be bothered to change their things though.
It'd be a real shame
Mine
if someone
don't.
was using data like that.
Terrible.
no one would ever do that.
Definitely not.
All right, let's keep going. What do we want to talk about this week? Is really the better question.
Do we want to talk about what we know
How
about the
did
world champ?
Sisters win Tampa? Guys, what? What is Jeremy? You were there. You were on the ground.
Yeah.
Tell me.
So I only watched 2 of Jeffrey's games. Because he didn't really there weren't any real rulings or attention paid to his first 5 games. Round 6, he played John Lennon, which is where I made my judgment mistake. I watched him in the Shadow Round, and then 7 and 8, he was on the stream, which was being handled by Justin. So I didn't really watch very much of his games.
Were his
I heard-
sisters actually cat girls?
I can neither confirm nor deny because I don't remember what is. Oh no, let me get a second.
That was somehow a much more suspicious answer than what I was hoping for.
I refuse to acknowledge whether or not
See,
they
here's
were
the problem is
catcalls.
that I'm trying to actually pull up my mental pictures of the few games of his that I did watch, and I don't remember seeing cat ears, but I may have missed the cat ears.
I wasn't looking for the caddy.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly looking for those until the event was over and someone told me about his cat sister's army, and I got confused.
Sisters of Cat. Oh, no, that doesn't work.
Let's not hobby shame anybody, though. If somebody wants to
I'm
call
not
their
hobby
sisters
shaming him. I'm
having
just
cat
the other
ears-
kind of
Yeah,
shaming.
to be clear, I would not be hobby shaming right now. I'd be kink shaming. That's an entirely different thing.
We also
Yeah.
don't kink shame
Anthony
on
can't
this
shame something that
podcast.
he
Let's
doesn't
no
do.
kink shaming.
That's true. What if that's their kink?
You get stuck in a feedback
No
loop,
kink
Anthony.
shaming, even if kink shaming is your kink. That's the only
Oh.
kink that we're going to shame.
That's so much. What are you supposed to do with that?
You heard me. No kink shaming except for kink shaming.
Don't worry, Anthony. You'll get a good look at Jeffrey's sister's army when he beats you at the World Champs.
He might. If I too
Hey.
throw my favor of corn directly into the trash on turn 1.
Aww.
How many? What was his list? Did somebody actually pull up his list?
Yeah,
so we can talk
I've got
about
his
it?
list in front of
You
me.
can not
I
only
can-
see his list, you can see the names of his units on the list.
Not
I've
all
read his
of them
list
have
3
names.
times and none of it sat in my brain. 100% zero of it. Like it slides off me like a fucking just bounces.
All
Water
right,
over a
let's
duck.
talk through this list.
All right, let's go back and bring up ye old Fight Club lore where we used to read lists of success at
Jesus.
events.
God, the old days, dude.
This is
Fuck.
this is some nostalgia time for everybody.
All
in
right,
chat.
so,
we're going to
Jeffrey Koldner was playing Order of the Eternal Crucible, Statuary, Tender, Honest, the Magifier with the Litanies of Faith,
Oh, we're doing the
don't
Order,
need their
Superior
names.
Amalia, which is Junith Aruda, Prioress Sabine, who is Morven Val, Warlord, Purifier Charity, Palatine, Plasma Pistol with the Blade of Saint Eleanor, and then Saint Nuria, the Reforged, is Saint Celestine. Then we have a Battle Scissor Squad, Battle Scissor Squad, Battle Scissor Squad, all of them with Power Weapon, Comedy Weapon, Melty Gun, Simulacrum, and Melty Melta.
No, we hadn't earned their names yet, so unnamed.
No, they had not. Then we have Crucible's Reach with an Immolator, which has the Immolation Flamer and a Hunter Killer. We have Purifying Incandescence, which is an Immolator with a Twin Multi-Melta and a Hunter Killer. Then we have a Retributor Squad with Multi-Meltas. We have the Refutation of Dross, which is a Castigator with the Battle Cannon and a Hunter Killer Missile. We have Ringing Purity, a Castigator with a Battle Cannon and a Hunter Killer Missile. We have the Feral, which is a Mortifier. We have the Fool, which is a Mortifier. And then we have the Cog Breakers, which are Paragon Warsuits, which all had multi-melta and grenade launchers. We had 5 Seraphim with hand flamers and a plasma pistol. We had 10 Sisters Novitiates with auto pistols and novitiate blades. And then we had 2 Difficult Assassins. And finally, we had Madeline, a Calidus Assassin.
So if
Alright.
you told me with 100% sincerity that he had submitted his list from the narrative, I'd believe you.
Well,
Out of genuine seriousness.
So here's the thing. The narrative is only 1,000 points.
Okay, if you told me this was Nathan's Crusade list,
Is the
What
like,
is
I genuinely no shame to the guy. Like I genuinely don't know what the fuck happened.
To be fair, this isn't the first time that we've had someone who writes names or puts lore in their list win an event.
I don't mean the
that
names.
far
I
be it
just
from
mean the
that.
units.
yeah.
Like
Okay,
More-
yeah, the makeup of the army is weird, but when you look at it and then break it down and then see it on the table, it's a whole lot of mech and some scoring trash. Which
I'm
means
just more
that
surprised
some
that
armies,
none of the like.
there's
the
no
buff.
exorcists,
There's
No
exorcists, none of
Arcoflagellants,
the-
there's no rhinos,
no
there's no
Arcoflagellants.
arcoflagellants, which are 3 of the things that you're seeing everywhere. There's
no
also no
rhinos?
triumph.
yeah, no triumph.
There's an immolator, I guess, that has transport capacity. Right?
There's 2 immolators.
Because
Oh,
all the gimmicks I know from like being good for sisters is like the infinite 6s with Bladus and Eleanor and lethal hits, just like punk like AP4 saves on things, which is great. Arcoflagellants are very resilient. Rhinos are good. Like all the stuff that I'm like aware of for sisters that like makes up competent lists. None of it's in this, so it's purely just been done on like
Well,
the guy just clearly
all in
had a
unit of
good
suits is in there.
Sure,
Those
Val
are-
and the suits, yeah. But like, I would have called that 500 points of normal sisters and 1,500 points of stuff he had. Like every unit's got different loadouts. There's no, like you usually, people will be like, this is the loadout I want, so my like Battle Soldier squads are all going to have the same special weapons or whatever. It doesn't have that. Immolators are different weapons. It's just bizarre, frankly, and honestly, I think it's really cool. Like I have absolutely mad props to the guy. Like you went on an insane tear. But if you asked me if you asked me before the event if I wanted to place a bet on this and gave me like 1,000 to 1 odds, I don't know if I'd have taken it.
I'd probably take 1,000 to 1 odds because that's pretty low.
Sure,
risk.
but you know what I mean, right?
1,000 to 1 odds, I'd take it $10. Fuck yeah.
1,000 to 1 odds minimum bet $1,000. Would you have taken it?
That's a chance at
No,
a million
fuck.
pounds.
There you
No
go.
chance.
But the stake in is 1,000, right?
Yeah, not for $1,000, dog. Please,
Yeah.
I'd have made fun of you so hard.
Exactly. So I wouldn't take it now, knowing he won, right?
Yeah, right.
So
All of the features of this list, from like everything having names and basically brass nameplates on it to the weirder list comp, none of that stuff really strikes you as this list is going to win Tampa Bay immediately.
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't strike me as this list is going to take down 3 Art of War players practically on the bounce.
Yeah.
So
what's the tactic for this list then? Just looking at it, trying to conceive of how it works.
So, having watched the little bit that I did, a large part of it is the little bit of trash that he has, which is actually a very small amount, which is the Seraphims, the Mortifiers, and the Battle Sisters,
Assassins.
which he splits them with the
Immolators, yep.
with the Immolator, so he actually has 4x5 and then 1x10. Is it just the mech goes out, kills anything that shows its face, and everything else just runs out on objectives and scores for him. Pretty sure he played tactical at least 3 of the games that I watched. I don't know about the other ones.
I'm pretty sure he played tactical into Jack as well. That sounds reasonable. I remember seeing him have signals.
Yeah, I was busy with another game, so I had no involvement with. I was watching the.
It just like I get that it's a wall of stuff that shoots pretty reasonably, has melee, and has a bunch of scoring stuff. It just seems like there's every other list that does that seems like it should do it better, right? Like I don't get how this. I don't get why this competes with Eldar, why this competes with CSM, but it did, right? When that's honestly really impressive. It just.
Yeah. Now, there were definitely some wild dice skews in this.
Oh, yeah, Jack got scammed.
No, Quentin got scammed before Jack got scammed.
Oh, okay, sure. I only know
so
Jack's.
in game 7, and I only know this because I talked with Quentin because I was watching his game 8 because I was watching the third place match, which turned into the second. Anyways, his last game I was watching it because it was the most interesting one, and most of the other there were much fewer questions round 8. And so talking with Quentin afterwards, because I was curious, like, how did you lose that? I mean, Servo Skulls and Jeffrey went first, which is already not the greatest position to be in. But Vol's unit of Paragons killed the Avatar with Fortune from 12 wounds to 0 in a single activation.
Just roll 6s, bro.
And, Quentin couldn't roll 4s to save his life.
Yeah.
But I think it was 6 wounds with the multi-meltas.
Seems unlikely, but
Very.
Sometimes variance does just get you, I suppose.
Like if the Triumph was there with infinite 6s and lethal hits,
no Triumph.
I get it. But the Triumph's not there. Like I don't understand.
yeah.
And then if I remember correctly, Jack lost 8 out of 10 Berserkers to Overwatch.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 straight Snake Eyes on charges did him no favors as well.
And then the charges that he did connect with, he didn't kill anything. Like, actually nothing.
Yep.
What this is sounding like is like this person had a probability shield around them, basically.
Which, you know what? Even if he did have a probability shield around him, he still put his units in the right spot for that to work.
Yep. Nobody in the history of Warhammer has won a GT or a major without getting lucky somewhere. It just doesn't happen. So
you just put yourself in a position that you can then capitalize on that luck.
Yep.
Or not get too badly fucked by the other guy's luck.
I mean, if you follow your plan, like you said, into the best path to victory every time, and everything works with your plan along the way, as long as you make correct decisions, it works, right? That's how you win games. You make the right decision according to what will give you a path to victory. Yep. As Innes repeatedly drummed into me during the one bonus content piece we made together. You just got to follow your plan.
You do the best you can with what you got.
And Charles S. has the best point. It was a shield of faith.
Yeah.
No, banned. Go, leave.
My favorite.
Thank you for your custom, Mr. Simon. You are no longer welcome. Or Mr. Charles, you are no longer welcome here.
The Art of War players that he went through, none of them were playing Imperium. So clearly that's the problem.
That's a really good point.
The Emperor protects.
That Celestine, my favorite Chaos Demon, did win that game.
She's not a Chaos Demon. She's a demon of the Emperor.
Who is a Chaos God, right? So
no, he's not the Chaos God yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Does she still have the demon keyword?
No, she's never had the demon keyword.
Oh.
No, the Avatar
like we all know,
demon
right?
keyword, which was very funny in 8th.
Avatar still has the demon keyword.
Doesn't actually?
Yeah.
No.
So does the Incarn. Drago melts that dude. It's
I
great.
was gonna say, it gets you beat up by Drago.
I was gonna say
There's like no anti-demon left in the game except Drago.
Yeah.
That is
more
pretty funny,
anti-Tyranid than anti-demon.
Oh, I made a Grey Knight player so sad this weekend because he called me to the table and said, "Yeah, so Drago's +3 works when I come in from teleport." So I was like, and it was because he was like, "So I need a 6 here," and I reroll it and I fail, and I walk up to him and say, "No, sorry, it doesn't work that way." And his opponent says, "Just take the CP back, and you need a 9, and we're just gonna pretend like this didn't happen."
You gotta be off the board in natural, or you gotta go back into reserve and miss the Dimos. It's the only ways to get the teleport off of Drago.
Yep. Which miss is a pretty reliable way to do it because people
for
eventually
sure
need to get close to that unit.
But you can't do it off a teleport assault. You gotta get it natural or the hard way. There's no easy way.
My favorite is definitely using miss to walk towards your opponent.
I've never had that happen.
Yeah, but you play World Eaters, twat.
Yeah, they don't want to be close to you.
Or CSM.
They don't want to be close to you either. If you played Eldar, then they'd probably do it.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't know.
But also, if you're playing Eldar and are going within 9 inches of Grey Knight, something probably went horribly wrong.
Or horribly right.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like the Grey Knights are having a terrible day.
Equal opportunity in both directions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Were there any other interesting lists that you saw while you were at Tampa Bay over the weekend, Jeremy?
I'll go through a few of the, there were a few really entertaining lists. There were really fun lists. I'll go through the few that really stood out to me. One of them was a literal stat check list. He was just there to have fun. It was 4 Morkanauts and Gorkanauts.
I love that. That actually makes me really happy.
And it was the Rock'em Sock'em Punch'em bots. Like they were painted as normal, but he had the whole lore behind the army. It was the Rock'em Sock'em Punch'em bots. He had Gretchen as the rest of the army. And the Runt Herders were their chaperones that were bringing them to the Rock'em Sock'em Punch'em bots
I love
game.
That.
So anytime someone would shoot the Gretchen, he would say, "You're killing the babies. How dare you kill the orc babies? This is a war crime." And about half the time, if he saw me on that side of the hall, he would call me over and say, "You have to kick this guy out. He's killing orc babies."
I feel like I would get very frustrated with that. 100%
committed to the bit, and there was at least one of his opponents that was a little, but he was just there to have a good time. Hogan Franklin, who is a pretty good Tyranids player, he made it. I think he lost in the shadow round to Jack, so he made it 6-0 with Tyranids running triple Norn.
Hell yeah! There was also the guy that had,
was
like I mentioned,
wow.
there was the 18 Raveners, 18 Von Ryan Sleepers list. Like, that guy's my hero, but also I cannot imagine the level of stress that anybody going second against that had, but also the level of relief when you win the first turn roll in that matchup.
Or just like the level of relief when those units connect with you and then they're still what they
Like,
are.
oh, wait, hold on.
Right.
Yeah, man still went
wait.
7-1, Anthony. Like,
I am considerably less worried about this.
you look at your codex, you remember Army Contempt exists, and you're like, oh, cool.
Oh, all right.
Who was some other interesting ones?
That was it. That was everybody that was drifting at Tampa. Congratulations.
There were some others. I have so many jammed in my head. There was a World Eaters army that had a Bloodthirster with it that was full of glitter and had shiny bases and was painted up in like almost clown-like colors. I could tell which tables he had been on because they were covered in glitter when he left. Because the basing material was just shedding off of the bases. And I made a joke to him at one point, and so what he did was he just brushed more glitter off onto the table. I was like, fine, I'm not cleaning that table up. That's someone else's problem now.
Yep. Good luck with that stuff.
Hogan went like in BCP 7-1. He lost to Jack in the he lost to Jack in the shadow round. Now Jack was playing World Eaters. Jack deployed on the line. Hogan deployed on the line. Hogan went first, moved up all his Norns onto their respective objectives. They scored points for a turn. Then, as Jack put it, Hogan scored 1 point more than he was happy with him scoring, and just ran through 3 Norns in one turn.
Yep.
It was, yeah. I saw them.
For
I
a
saw
day
them,
sheet
I
that's
saw them
what we were
playing. I
doing,
saw
and
them
it sure isn't.
Yeah, I saw them playing, and then I saw a handshake, and I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Went how we expected. Hogan also was on the unfortunate receiving end of Ben Urich's round 8 game, where he beat him 100-10 because he went first, killed everything on the board by the end of his second, and screened out the board so no reinforcements could be placed.
Eldar. Woo!
Yep.
It's okay, guys. TSM are the problem.
Yeah.
Brian Jones, shout out to him as well. He finished 8th. This one was more funny than anything else. So him and Ben Urich were both in the top bracket, and they played round 1 of the top bracket, so game 5. They also played round 1 of the top bracket at Tacoma on the exact same mission, and thankfully not on the exact same table, but they were both playing the same armies. It's just those armies were now mechanically very different than the armies that they had brought, because Ben was playing Eldari, Brian was playing Imperial Knights. Towering no longer existed. There was no longer a Wraith Knight on the other side of the table. Now it was, yes, Ben, Mardi Gras themed. I can't remember his name for the life of me, though. I feel so bad. But he was so much fun all weekend. Ben's WTC application scored a 27 to -7 at Tampa.
Boy.
Riel Long finished 18th, playing Blood Angels. And Riel was a fantastic person to both judge and work with throughout the weekend. She played a nail biter of a game against John Lennon in round, I want to say, 5. Yeah, it was round 5. So the first one of the bracket, and it was a 3-point game. Which came down to like the last thing. Her list was, I'll actually go through her list because it's actually quite fun. So her list is those Blood Angels, playing Gladius, though, not completely crazy. I didn't notice her list title before. I just saw her list on the table. Her list title is I Have No Anti-Tank. Biologists with Bolter Discipline, Lamarties, a Primaris Lieutenant with Artificer Armor, and a Primaris Tech Marine. Aggressors, no surprise there.
I feel like that counts as anti-tank.
Yeah, I kill everything in the game. Is
It
pretty
kills
good.
everything, but it's not like, yeah, it just kills everything.
Yep. But it's not anti-tank.
10 Death Company Marines with Thunderhammers. I would also consider those anti-tank.
Definitely not anti-tank, yeah.
And then 10 Hellblasters.
What are we doing?
No anti-tank at all. None at all. Oh, the moment isn't anti-tank. Don't worry about
A
it.
unit of Inceptors with Plasma. A unit of Infiltrators. A Libby Dread. 2 Redemptors. And then a Scout Sniper Squad and a regular Scout Squad.
What
Yeah,
I
that
learned
seems
from
pretty
this
good.
is that this person is not to be trusted.
Yeah. Like, I appreciate how well you did, but also you're lying about your anti-tank. You had loads.
If they offered you a drink at any point during the weekend, you said no.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have now. Now I don't trust you even a little. I don't trust you with water.
The Libby Dread yeeting aggressors across the table caught more than a few people off guard.
The fact that it goes after Phantasm is my favorite thing in Warhammer, because they're both end of turn effects, or they're both end of movement phase effects. So as the active player, you're like, you can Phantasm, or I'm going to teleport before you Phantasm and block where you're going. It's so much fun. Chris, one of my teammates, took that LGT. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ben. Kevin Camarada is the World Leader Mardi Gras man. He played for Mardi Gras is his team name. He went 5-3. Yeah. Other ones that were fun. There was a guard player who made it into the top bracket who I think finished 7-1. No, he finished 6-2 overall. He was running a super heavy, and he had a gorgeous guard army. Can't remember his name now, but yeah. Yeah, Alex Taos 5-3, big World Eaters energy. Nah, 4-4 is where you want to be at when you're really big World Eaters energy.
Yeah, that's the classic.
There were quite a few World Eaters that actually did reasonably well. Brian Lakor from Hobby Goblins, friend of
That's my boy.
Tim's. Yeah, he was a super nice. Yeah, I finally met him. Super nice guy. He went 6-2.
Yeah. Did he have the giant cabanda on the table?
He did have the giant combat on the table. It was very funny. One of the games
How
that I
do
was
you use that? Like,
he used it as
a
Bloodthirster.
bloodthirster.
yeah, but it's so much bigger than a bloodthirster.
He had it on the right size base, which made it look very comical.
Yeah, very carefully.
Yeah, very carefully. It was very funny because I was judging one of his games at one point, and his opponent and he rapid ingress Kabanda, and his opponent was just like, "Yeah, you just turn it this way, and you can hide it." And I looked at it and said, "You're trying to hide it behind a 4x6 ruin. There is no way you are hiding that model." and Brian just owned it and said, "No, he's going like this. You shoot him. You shoot him."
Yeah, that was one of the funniest coaching calls I've ever gotten on. Is someone just being like, "I want to play World Eaters," and I was like, "Dude, sick!" And he was like, "I have to use a Bloodthirster," and I was like, "Ooh, all right."
I mean, he did well with the list.
Yeah.
So
Well, we went over like how to use the Bloodthirster in combination with the rest to have it not patrolling, right?
He clearly had some good prep going into that because he was making some very sound decisions throughout the event.
Yeah.
That CSM game that I was judging him on, I think he lost by like 3, but that was to Nick, who ended up not your Nick Hurting, who ended up finishing 4th at the event. What was another one? Oh, Andy Powell.
He's so big. Like, so big. I've seen that model in person, and I watched somebody assemble it at Chicago, and I was like,
That's the best.
Kabanda is humongous. He
All
doesn't
right,
even
so for
fit
anyone
on
who
the
is
Bloodthirster's
listening to the
base.
podcast right now, what we are looking at is a comparison picture of Kabanda next to Angron next to Scarbrand. And he's a thick boy.
He's like twice the size of Angron.
Yeah.
Just in body. His body is twice as big as Angron's. His wings are like 4 times bigger than Angron.
To be fair, Angron looks like he's trying to get into a rhino.
Innes, we can't hear you.
I muted because I was pressing buttons. In what world is that fitting on the 120 by 70?
Maybe
or whatever
he was
base it
playing
is?
it on like a night base or whatnot, but I mean that's definitely not to his advantage when he's trying to fit that thing on Deep Strike.
Or anywhere, or
Or do anything with it.
yeah, or like use it at all.
You probably could if you didn't take the basing material. His stance is probably the same size as that other base, maybe.
If you didn't put his
Oh.
wings on him, I think he'd still be bigger than a regular Bloodthirster.
He
I'd
is.
agree.
He's bigger. His axe is taller than Scarbrand's wings.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't we do?
I got 3 more shout outs to do because
Oh
I'm
my
scrolling
gosh.
through the placings and these are the ones that got sorry, I got to do these. Andy Powell,
That's fine.
who made top bracket by going 4-0 with Dark Angels, playing the Unforgiven detachment with 20 Deathwing Knights, and then proceeded to go 3-1 in the top bracket because
Why not?
Deathwing Knights are pretty good, guys.
they are.
They were.
You just got to play them in the right detachment. I think it was round 4. He played a mirror between another Dark Angels player who also had 10 Deathwing Knights, but was playing Gladius. So I joked about which one was the actual traitor. They both gave me a dirty list. Then we had the last 2. We had Robert Jones from Goonhammer, the Chirurgeon, who ran Death Guard and who finished with a 7-1 record. He barely missed the top cut on OGW because OGW is special, and then won his bracket, going 4-0 through the 3-1 bracket.
Nice.
Hell yeah, Rob. Rob's been chasing the that dragon for a while, so I'm super happy to see him get.
He was
nicer
so
guy.
thrilled with his performance, and he was playing exceptionally well. Last shout out is going to be to Matt Aaron, who didn't finish the event but had a gorgeous Death Guard army that he didn't know.
Oh, that's my boy. That's a New York boy.
Yeah, I know.
That's the
when
best
I
overall
was like,
king.
you're a little ways from home. There's actually a big group of them. Matt Aaron, O'Hara was there. Who else?
Oh, Matt
Yeah.
O'Hara's great too.
They're both great. O'Hara made showcase with his army. So did Matt Aaron, but Matt Aaron had to leave, so he wasn't eligible for anything. Matt O'Hara made showcase. His army was gorgeous. Did he lose intentionally to stay on 7? No, he definitely did not. He was he really had wanted to make that top cut, but if I remember correctly, his round 4 was against. He played against Sean Rice round 4, and yeah, it hurt.
You got Votand.
But yeah, Matt Aaron didn't understand that Mortarion basically let you ignore almost everything.
Almost everything.
Yeah.
Almost.
It was he was playing a Custodes player, and they had a Trajan and Mortarion question, which both work the same way at GW events. And both players are like, oh, so you would have ignored that -1 to wound, and you would have ignored that. Well, this changes everything. But the Custodes player had just finished bouncing, so he agreed that nothing was going to change. He was just going to get tabled.
Yeah.
And so Matt just ran over him.
All right.
Then we have the fun discussion of, you know what happens when you get battle shocked as a Plague Marine next to Mortarion? Absolutely nothing.
Cool.
You can't use strats.
Sure. I guess you can't get the extra AP and sustained hits on a unit of Plague Marines.
Yeah, or stealth them, or it matters. Or grenade strat. Like, come on.
Actually, that one's
Not
more
unimportant.
Yeah.
It's not unimportant.
All right, those are the ones that I wanted to highlight. It was a great event. I highly recommend anyone who can head out to the US Opens. They are a ton of fun.
They definitely are really well run events, generally speaking.
They're fun events. They are in need of some mission changes, I think, for them to become part of being
anyone who was there, send your feedback to the survey. If you didn't want to play Servo Skulls again, please put it in there, because I hate judging Servo Skulls.
Oh, dude, can you have 2 objectives on top of each other? I know.
Is there any
WTC ruled no.
Is there any limit to how many you could stack on top of each other?
Nope.
Could you put all 3 of them on top of each other and then move all 3 of them into? Oh, that's hilarious.
Could you put all 4 of them on top of each other if you played Hidden Supplies?
All right, on that note, Innes, do our scuffed plugs.
No, I just want everyone to think about Hidden Supply. I want you all to think about Hidden Supplies, Chosen Battlefield, Servo Skulls. The next Vibe Check League is going to be 5 rounds of that.
Innes, just do the plugs.
If you want to make us not be able to do that, there's a bunch of ways you can contribute. For every person that likes, I will take 1 mission off of that. We'll take one thing, take it down 1 level from there. So, first of all, thank you everybody for being with us for episode 55, 65 of Stat Check. We're about an hour into the show, so we're going to do the plugs now. So apologies to anybody who really doesn't appreciate things that don't go well. First of all, if you're listening to the show on YouTube, then you can also check out the podcast that goes out on all the standard feeds. If you're listening to the podcast, you can check out the show on YouTube. See all our funny reactions in the pictures, and sometimes we have stats and all that kind of cool stuff, and you can interact with the chat. That's at youtube.com/statcheck. You can also subscribe and do the likes and leave comments and all this sort of stuff. We do read and appreciate everybody who leaves a comment for us there. Some people are making faces, and I'm confused now. You can also see all the other stuff that we do as part of the network there. So things like Enter the Matrix and XM1, which are our other 2 bi-weekly shows that come out on alternative. They come out on alternate weeks. I believe this week is an Enter the Matrix week, which means that should be live right now on Wednesday. So tomorrow, as we're speaking, or probably tomorrow again if you're listening to the show as it comes out. Otherwise, check the backlogs. If you're interested in interacting with us a bunch more, you can check out the Patreon Discord, which is patreon.com/statcheck. There you can get access to our Discord and the wonderful community that it includes, including things like the Vibe Check League, which we're currently running a team tournament. I think we have something like 20 teams of 5 signed up. It's real mental. We have teams from South Africa, we have teams from Australia, we have a bunch of American and British and European teams. It's going to be super awesome. We have a $1,000 Canadian prize pool for that as well, going out to the top 3 teams and the most important team, because I was not just giving more money to Brian. So yeah, we have that ongoing right now. There is another just under a week left on signups for that. So as you're listening to this as it comes out, and that's something that interests you, you and your buddies can jump on there, or you can pop into the objective. You can pop in and speak to a bunch of extra people there. Yeah, it's just a great community. There's been a bunch of awesome things in there. We'll be shouting out Frank and his dirt sheets a little bit later because he asked a question about it. So I figure we can put that plug down a little bit, but we'll be shouting that out a bit as well. As far as other things that we do, California Cup, if you're going to be at that event, we are still running classes there. That's in about 3 weeks now. If you're going to be at the Cali Cup, you can check out the link in the description, where Anthony and I are going to be running classes about deployment and playing the game and getting better under pressure and all that kind of stuff. So if that's something that interests you, please do check that out. We would greatly appreciate it. It's looking to be a ton of fun. If you're interested in getting anything like merchandise from us, there are a couple places you can do that. One is red-dragon.ca, where you can get a bunch of things like objective markers, dice, which we're going to come back in stock soon. Into the future, you'll be able to get objective mats. And also, if you're a patron, you'll get a 20% off discount code through Patreon, which you can use on that website. They do ship internationally for pretty much everything. I know 40K stuff can be a little weird law-wise, so do check it out if that's it. But if you're looking for anything else, Red Dragon's got you covered. If you're looking for things like objective tokens for things like Battleshock and like measuring widgets and stuff like that, that's done through Saltar Games on Etsy. You just need to search that in the website bar because Etsy URLs are weird and complicated, and I refuse to learn them. You can check that out there, and they've recently launched the black version stuff. I have recently negotiated to bring a bunch of that stuff over to Atlanta and Calicut with me. So Jeremy and Anthony, all that, you'll get your little cool widgets that have got logos on them and stuff. So yeah, we should have all that ready to go. Last thing to plug is the coaching. If you're interested in coaching from either myself or Typhus, please do check out stat-check.com/coaching or send us an email at coaching@stat-check.com, and you can speak to us about any requirements that you've got, whether you want to prep for an upcoming tournament or get ready for an RTT or just learn how to beat your friends better. Drop us a message. We'd be more than happy to help. That is all I got, and I'm 90% sure we did play Hidden Supplies for Servo Skulls, because I definitely remember both of us kicking 2 objectives.
I don't remember anymore. I played Servo Skulls against a Gene Stealer Cole player. That's all I remember.
I'm putting his demons, and I'm pretty sure we both kicked 2 objectives each. So,
all right. I'm going to address a question first because I forgot to address it in the comments last week on the YouTube video, and
Ridiculous.
I promised I would, and I totally forgot. But Johannes reminded me because he's very hyped about this best of formats, not better than single elimination. So it really depends on what you're doing. So different sports have different amounts of randomness introduced by best of formats. So if you're looking at ways to improve certain sports like the NBA, their best of 7 format chooses more often chooses the higher ranked team, the team that is supposedly better, more often in their format than in other formats. It's like 80% of the time or something like that, which is pretty good. If you use ELO in 40K and do some predictive stuff on it, I don't know if I'll talk about it. We're seeing something comparable to the NBA for choosing who will win in matches with the predictive model and best of 1 match formats for 40K. When you look at other sports like hockey and Major League Baseball, they're choosing the higher seeded team in the first seed versus the 8th seed team and in other matches as well, like roughly 60% of the time, so closer to a coin flip. So their best of format, in theory, introduces more randomness into by increasing the number of matches. And then there's the NFL, which has 1 game in its playoffs, which is roughly a coin flip according to historical data. So there you go. That's why. That's what happens in best of formats. Depends on the game being played and whether or not it introduces more or less randomness into the game based on the outcome that you want, which is ideally that the top seeded teams beat the lower seeded teams. But it really depends on what you're looking for. So that's
obviously
answer.
The drama, because we're all messy bitches here.
So that's the answer to your question, is that in the formats where it's used, it sometimes increases the amount of randomness. There you go. Cool.
What you're saying is we should all be playing best of 5 series to make sure that we're playing the most balanced factions.
That is, I think if
all 4K should be best of 5. I agree. Tournament should just be 1 round and you play 1 game against 1 person, but you play 5 times.
Looking at our ELO data as like a measure of accuracy and like its ability to predict the outcomes of matches, I think we're fine in best of 1 matches right now. But if somebody wants to do a super major that does best of 5 matches for it,
for a 3-round RTT run over 5 days.
Yeah. If somebody wants to do that, and wants,
could you imagine having to spend 15 hours playing 40K with the same person and like not liking them?
If you want to prove me wrong by showing that instead of like an 80-ish% predictive ability, you get a 90-ish% ability to predict that outcome, making us better than the NBA for best of 7 series, picking the best seeded team to win.
Oh, clearly it has to be a best of 9. That's what.
Holy shit, Anthony, you have light.
Oh yeah, my gosh, there's a light behind him in his hallway. We
Yeah, I mean, I
some
could
bad.
turn the light on in here, but I've been sat down for a while, and we're pretty committed at this point, so whatever.
True. So there you go. That's my answer. If you want the data, I can put it in the show comments that talks.
If you can
about
find
this.
it, because you couldn't last time.
No, I did find it. I found it this time, so I can put it in the show description this time.
Cool. Let's move on to show questions before things get sloppy. Also, anybody who hasn't seen it yet, go into content discussion on the Discord. You will see some wonderful picture.
All right, I have the show questions up. I'll talk through them. If you didn't post your question in the show questions, I may do it at the end. I don't know. I may not. But these are from the Patreon Discord. If you do it if you join the Patreon, you'll get your question answered as long as you put it in the right thread. Otherwise, if you super chat, we will also get to your question. Or if your question just intrigues me and I notice it in the YouTube chat, we will also make sure that it's answered. All right. The first question is from Preston, which is, how's the isolation been? Which I assume is just for Innis.
It's been all right. Like, frankly, I'm having an all right time. I'm just like, I haven't seen another person today, so.
Do you need a hug?
No, not really. I just like probably at some point should have like gone to the shop or something to just like leave the house for a bit. But I like it was cold and I was like not feeling it, so
you should
it's been
just go
fine.
for a walk, Innis. Go for a walk.
I probably should, but it's also like past midnight now, so there's a degree of nah. It already isn't today, so
sure.
Yeah.
Will asks, if you kicked a Nurgling, what kind of sports ball would it be like?
Calvin ball.
What was
like
that?
Like a wet, deflated soccer ball.
like original soccer, but when they still played with sheep's bladders.
Yeah.
There you go. I was gonna say it's like a kickball that's been left out in the rain, so it's like half full of water.
Do you know like the? I don't know if you guys will have had them in the US and Canada, but like they have like the kind of foamy like soccer balls that are like they always look like someone's taking a bite out of them in like gym class.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we use those
Yeah,
for
yeah.
dodgeball, but yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it would be like one of those that's been left outside. It's like there's a bite missing out of it. Someone's clearly been like holding it while they've been like allergy snotting into it and stuff like that, and it's like.
Thanks.
Sure. Then Frank has two questions. The first one is, now that we're fully in with the new Marine book, what are your general thoughts? Over/underperformers, dark horses, etc. I think we're not quite far enough into the data to really be able to say anything about
Oh
it.
no, I have thoughts. I'm happy to.
But Innis has thoughts. Yes.
About what?
Marines.
About Marines.
Oh
my god, it's so fucking boring. Why is the Whirlwind the best data sheet in that book? Why is there no good Marine melee units? Why do all the detachments just say do boring generic shooting thing? What the fuck was they could have I think the thing they needed to do was leave the wound rerolls in, but only for melee units.
Yeah.
I like that.
I would like that.
That would be cool.
And then it would have been like at least the melee would have been interesting, right? And then you can repoint like Deathwing Knights and stuff. Like, I'm okay with the idea that Deathwing Knights are a little too powerful and you can hit them a little bit, right? I'm open to that. But oh my god, I hate Whirlwind so much. They're so boring.
Yep.
That's my thoughts on the Marine book. There is nothing fun. There is nothing fun in that book, but it sure is powerful.
They left all the like good melee units in the non-compliant chapters, right? Like Blood Angels can do it, Deathwing Knights can do it, Sword Brethren can do it, and it's like, all right, you do get to play scouts in us. So
I do get to play scouts, and I do like scouts. I do already miss my Sergeant's Thunderhammer, but grenade strat off of scouts is still a vibe, so I do enjoy that.
Fair. And then the second question from Frank is a shameless plug, which is fine. What are the things you guys want to see from the Dirt Sheets dashboard that you think will add the most value?
Does somebody want to explain what Dirt Sheets is that has a better understanding of it while I grab the link for his Patreon?
Dirt Sheets is essentially looking at the winning factions or factions with a positive win rate for events. So basically looking at like looking at what units make up those lists, looking at how often they show up in particular lists.
Yeah, so you'll see something like if people, like every list is taking the Yinkarn, for example, you would see it in 100% of Eldar lists. It's at like 72%, which is like 7 out of 10 Eldari lists, basically. Yep. But also if you're seeing a lot of a single unit in lists, like 20-man seismic cannon units. In Gene Stealer Colt, it's at like 200% because there's a lot of that unit being taken.
Yeah,
So you also
two in
see
every
over
list.
so you'll also see over 100% if people are taking multiples of units, and you're seeing it in basically every list.
Yeah, it's listed when X and 1 and better for specificity.
And we'll have a link to it. And then my recommendation for dirt sheets, which is something that we ended up doing for the dashboard, is you need to have a learner in it to guide people through what everything means on it. Also label your final data point, which is the percentage, with a title at the top that tells us what we're looking at there. There you go. Those are my 2 suggestions.
Stats suggestions from the stats dad.
Stats Dad has thoughts. But then it's a really great tool, and you should go check it out. We'll have a link in the show description at the bottom. I think we also had one last week in the show description, which means it's probably already in the show description for this week. But if not, we'll include it. Scott M has a question, which is, how do you know / determine if you're faction savant, if you are a faction savant or a pleb who should just play the meta?
It's almost always 2.
Are you winning a bunch with your faction, even though it's not good? If yes, you might be a savant. If no, play the meta. Just use results-based analysis, guys. It's not that big a deal.
There you go.
It works sometimes, right? Like, you know.
And yeah, somebody put up the Patreon for 40K dirt sheets. There you go. It's also linked in our Discord for somewhere.
And linked and pinned and a bunch of other stuff. Like, yeah, Frank's awesome. Frank's done a great work. So
Yeah, when you're the other side of that coin is like when you're new, just play the thing that's good. If your goal is to get better, don't play nonsense.
Yep.
Luke G asks, is Canis Rex or something similar in cost ever a good ally choice, or is it too many points that takes away from your faction strength?
I think it depends on the faction, but I feel like generally it's going to be too many points that takes away from what you're trying to do.
I don't really like Canis Rex, especially with the battle tactics changes, with people like generally not even allowing him to CP reroll for free and stuff like that. He's just a little awkward. I'm not a huge fan. I also just like without armor, without rotating iron shield, I don't love big knights, just because the 5 up and vulnerable save is so vulnerable to just like evaporating in the right in the wrong circumstances. Yeah. So generally, I'm not a fan.
Oh, is rotate not a battle tactic? Interesting.
Well, you can't rotate in allies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. Sorry. My brain was like, wait, is rotate not a battle tactic? But that was the actual question.
Rotate is
it's also not a battle tactic. Yeah.
There you go. See, that also just decreases Canis's value in a pure knights list.
Yeah, the only battle tactics you have access to in standard 40k is go to ground and command reroll. So,
well, we can't use either of those.
Nope.
All right, Dan F asks, with everyone and their brother having 6 dreads and a new Marine Codex, how do you neuter an Ironstorm list?
Well, you let them submit 6 dreadnoughts, and then you're like, cool, man, you submit ballistices. They're not good. Well done.
You use Angron. That's worked for me so far.
Punching them with Chaos Lords and Obliterators went pretty well. I highly didn't enjoy getting shot by Sagittars that rolled 6s pretty well. That wasn't great. Grim Demeanor was real annoying. Rogaldorns, not so much. Those things tickled.
As just like a rule of thumb, I think as a lister, like someone, setting up lists for competitive events at this point, you need answers to like Necron Horde, 6 to too many Dreadnought, Space Marines. Like those are just things you need to have in your list. You are liable to make yourself very sad very fast if you don't have answers to those.
There are so many vehicles in the meta right now. Like if you had a plan for beating 10 Chaos Knights, you can beat Space Marine Dread Park in the same kinds of way, or you can kill it in the same kind of way. Beating it is different, but like if you can kill like 10 Carnivores, you can kill 3 to 6 Dreadnoughts.
Yeah. Can you just drown them in bodies like 200 gaunts?
No, they will shoot you to the fuck.
Fair.
What if all my guns had twice as many shots?
Yeah, it's not like that game.
Can't kill me.
Yeah, that game is sketchy.
Tasteful Orphan, who needs to change their name to their actual name because that's how our Discord works.
That's all fun and games until they're Bulgarian or something, right, Grant?
True, I don't care.
Yeah, his name is actually Fuller, and you've just been very rude to him.
Yeah,
that's fine.
No, I know exactly who that is, so I'm going to go change his name.
You've been diagnosed.
You've been found.
Anyway, the question
on Devastator Centurions.
There are too many points. 75 is a lot in Space Marines. It buys you a lot of units. I actually don't hate the regular ones, but Devastator Centurions just kind of the Twin Link is nice, but they don't have enough volume to really make use of it. They are too slow to like really be a good you can't really ingress with them in the same way you would Obliterators, and they're basically the same points. It's a really tough comparison.
You ingress Obliterators?
Sometimes, yeah.
I've never done that.
Did you know Obliterators are good in combat as well, and sometimes it's nice to have a 5-inch charge with them.
No, I'm familiar, but like
That's why you run Slanesh ones, so you can advance and shoot charge.
Oh, Jesus.
Jeremy, we're gonna have a conversation after this.
Yeah. You don't need to talk to Jeremy, you need to talk to Chris, yeah.
Obliterator ingressing, yeah, because you can get to like melt range of like the stuff behind or threaten like the drop in, move shoot into things. It's a thing you have to plan for sometimes as the person playing into CSM. I don't know if you've done it before, but it can work, especially with the 2-mans. It can be quite nice.
It's probably better on 2s. It's just on the 4s.
Yeah, on 4s it can be a little sketchy, yeah, because it's a lot of footprint to ingress. But like the 2-mans can get into like ruins pretty comfortably and like actually walk out from behind the wall where 4-mans maybe can't.
You just get stuck. That's why I was like.
Yeah, real 4-inch move moments.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Devastator Centurions, they're okay. I wouldn't if you had them in a list, I wouldn't be upset at you for putting them in, but I would definitely want to have a conversation with you about what else that could be.
Fair.
Reasonable. Nick K asks, what's your ideal Death Guard list?
Go and find the list that Max Quist played at the Austrian GT. I think that list is fantastic, and it doesn't run Mortarion, so you can actually have a good time playing it when you go second, which Mortarion doesn't really do a lot of the time because he then just kind of like sits there and is like, I can't leave my deployment zone because I move like 3 inches a turn with how I have to go around these ruins.
I think it was a bunch of idiots and rhinos.
Yeah, it's like 30 Plague Marines and Rhinos, 2 Death Red squads with characters, Typhus, 3 Playburst Crawlers, and some nine Nurglings.
Sounds pretty good.
Towards that. It seems a little more up his alley.
It's good fun. I put Tim onto it.
He does not love Mortarion.
Mortarion's really annoying because his wings are just like his wings and his scythe are like exactly the right height that when you start like actually measuring his movement and you try to go like between a ruin, pivot, upper that way, pivot, that you end up like having to move like 14 inches to move 6 inches, and it's just awkward. So he can be a bit of a pain in the backside. His modifiers, like your modifiers aura just doesn't do that much as well, I find. Like it's just a really awkward aura, so
Derek asks, when are you going to ascend to the final step of being a top comp player by naming and fluffing all your characters in your submitted army list?
I have to fluff them now, too?
Yeah, you have to add that little fluff bit to them.
Oh, that means a very different thing than what you said.
Yeah.
Moving on.
You said it, not me.
We're going to skip on to the rest of it. And Grant.
Nathan Fluffer Henning is going to be your team nickname next year.
And there's the cold open.
God. From Adrian, what is the current top ranked competitive salamanders list? We're going to get demonetized on this video already.
Probably a bunch of aggressors and a Land Raider Redeemer with Vulcan chilling somewhere.
15 Plasma Inceptors.
For the +1 strength and extra wounding stuff. Probably.
+1 wound is so good on Inceptors.
Why
It's
15? Is that just
663.
Okay.
663, yeah. It just like it fits enough that you can like the 3-man could chase down like random small units with strength 9, and then the 2 6-mans, that's a turn 2 and a turn 3 +1 to wound strat. And you just like remove things. It's like 90% to kill like the anything profile for like Fort Fiend, Night Spinner, anything like that. It just goes away and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Alright.
And then you back that up with like aggressors and land raiders and the standard scoring and 2 whirlwinds because Space Marines. Maybe 3.
Hey.
We have a lot of questions, so I'm going to keep going.
Power 3.
Is Khorne's kryptonite cat girls?
No.
Yes.
I like it. Brendan asks, or McWhirp, what changed about Sisters between the meta report ranking, then second worst in the game, and the respectable win rate this past weekend?
It's a blip.
They got a really good pilot who had a really good plan and executed on it.
Sisters did this all last season as well. They would have a terrible week and then the best week of their life, and then a terrible week and the best week of their life.
And it would always be whenever we commented one way or the other, they would then prove us wrong.
Yeah, so next weekend, if you're playing Sisters, good luck. I'm really sorry. Sisters, the thing that I think people should remember, and for anybody who doesn't know, the meta report is our monthly report on how the meta is going. Basically, our tier list that we don't call a tier list because we have higher standards for ourselves than that. But it's a tier list that goes out on the website. Basically, it puts Sisters as the 20th army right now of 21. The issue is the meta is actually just really flat right now. Like the difference between army 20 and army like 8 isn't that big that I'm like upset about it. Army 21 is terrible. It's Drakari. Don't worry about it. They can stay down there. But like 20 plus, like I feel about the same playing into Necrons as I do into playing Death Guard right now. And that's what we have is like 8 and 19. So I think that's just kind of like the meta's fairly flat.
What is your favorite AP3 melee weapon?
Exalted 8-bound chain fists. Fuck you.
Drazar.
Is Drazar still AP3 in melee?
I don't think so.
He's on one of his profiles. Favorite AP3?
Does it have to be AP3? Can it just be Fuegan's axe? That's randomly like AP4.
AP4. It's all right, Nathan. Don't worry. You don't need to know about any AP3 melee because there's none in Tyranids. So
no, there's one or two.
Yeah,
there's
it's on the Norn. It's on the Norn, and that's it.
Yeah. Canis Rex's fist is a good pick as an AP3 weapon. Yeah.
Drazar's AP2.
Oh, Jesus, it's so depressing.
That's traumatizing right there. All right. John L asks, how do you choose Ironstorm when your heart wants Stormlance?
By picking it in the app, there's a drop-down menu. Just click it.
Yep.
Grant asks, how do you deal with hobby project ADD, especially leading up to an event? I'm in the process of painting up John Lennon's NID Nexus list for GT in December, but the amount of marine vehicles that are going to be out and about hurts my soul a little.
I recommend commissioning.
Submit it and make yourself. Like that's all I got. You just gotta fight the little demon in your head and just submit the list anyway.
Yep. If you submit it and you have to do it, then you're gonna do it.
Or
hopefully.
Just bandwagon and change your list and paint something else and be a hobby butterfly, and that's fine too. I'm definitely never building those 2 gladiators I just bought.
You can also just borrow if you know somebody who's going to be at the event. Just borrow some units if you don't think you can paint it.
One day I'll play a game of 40k with my own Angron, but it's not going to be this year.
I just prefer the idea of you never painting or having somebody paint an Angron and just serially borrowing Angron for multiple.
Just Angron because I refuse to own him.
You're just not allowed to use the same Angron twice. It's got to be a different Angron every time.
No.
You're just like asking your friends if they can buy an Angron so you can borrow it from them.
Why did McWhirp asks a second question, which is why did GW print a Space Wolf detachment in Codex Space Marines?
I think they didn't get the memo that they were legending all the bikes.
Oh, is that Stormlance? That's
Stormlance. Yeah, I really don't know. That detachment confuses me.
I want it to be different than it is because advance and charge and shoot is really good.
That
right?
detachment assumes that anything in Space Marines wants to be in combat, and it just doesn't. So
there
are certain things that do, but they get more out of other detachments, right?
Well, the problem is that anything that wants to be in combat wants to shoot on the way through. So, like, advance and charge redemptors is great if they could shoot before they charged. Advance and charge aggressors is great if they could shoot before they charged, but none of those detachments confer anybody to give assault or advance and shoot. So, like, there's what are you meant to work with?
And then Grant on behalf of Cam, because Grant is apparently moving these things in for people, which is nice of him. Because I
can't charge his money for other people to answer questions in our Discord.
It's true. Nathan, can you give a tier list on the nation's birds utilizing the data you collected from Contact Lost? Furthermore, why is the Canadian Cobra Chicken top of S tier undisputed? That's going to take more time. And it's not.
That we'll make that bonus content. It's fine.
The Canadian goose is not, in fact, an S tier bird. It's the world eaters of the bird world. We just can never finish at an event.
New York City pigeons, baby.
It is New York City pigeons. They're the S tier units, guys. But we'll do something fun. Maybe as bonus content, we'll do a tier episode, and we can do an Art of War style tier list that's just as useful, and more easily identifiable.
Well, just remember, guys, sisters are going to be an A tier on every Art of War tier list for the next month, just to cover their bases. They're also going to upload the YouTube, change the YouTube date to say that it came out like the week before Tampa.
But yeah, we're gonna do one with images that are also more easily parsable than Art of Wars. That is definitely a Death Watch
Guys.
reference they use some generation. I don't know. All
Next
right.
question.
Fine. Oh wow, I'm getting rushed along. That's different than usual. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Yes or no?
Yes.
Do whatever you want, man.
Next
It's your
question.
pizza.
Yeah, belong is whatever. Nothing belongs on pizza.
Grant for Matt Bell. What do Grey Knights need to bump them up the win rate ladder?
Competent
Better pilots.
Damage.
Jeremy and Anthony giving the same answer is my favorite.
Yeah, that almost
Chris-
never happens. That's the sign of the apocalypse.
Yeah,
Grey Knight pilots
Chris.
aren't very good, except the one guy I played at LGT.
that's true. Chris from the V8 gang asks, how much gun can a gun line gun if a gun line could line gun?
3.
A
Both
lot.
pieces.
Whatever the Tau one is, I don't know. Martine asks, if you had to choose between 10 scouts or 3 inceptors, why do you bring the scouts in what loadout?
At least one shotgun. After that, I don't care.
Do what
That's
your
what I
heart tells
was
you.
gonna
Stop playing Space Marines. You don't want to.
say.
You know better.
You want to
Yeah,
play the striking
Troop Kings.
Scorpions end of that box as well.
Just play
Just play
something else.
Autark War Boss Ben asks, if you were in an Astra Militarum command squad, which job would you have?
Dead guy.
Ogren?
Astropath?
The guy with the medic pack, I guess. That's the closest to a scientist.
Yeah.
He's pulled last in a lot of situations.
I'm like very clearly the guy working the computer back at base. Like, let's not. Like, I'm not on this battlefield. I'm asthmatic. This is not going well for any of us.
You act like that would stop you from being conscripted in the Grimdark.
Yeah, but I would be dead or back at base. Like, there's no in between, right? There's
He's a liability
like,
on the battlefield.
the
They
second
know
they
that.
like take a pack and go, like, no, man, I'm just gonna like Commissar can have me.
In honor of soup season, what is your favorite soup?
I mean, the Polish one I can't pronounce, obviously.
Lentil and bacon, personally.
French Canadian style pea soup.
I like chicken wild rice soup, but I also do like a good tomato soup if you pair it with a grilled cheese. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Good tomato soup is great.
My
Like,
wife
I
still
make
thinks
my-
the grilled piece of
I make
tomato soup
my-
is the weirdest thing.
I make from scratch tomato soup. It is amazing.
You'll have to change my mind on that one, Nathan.
That's fair. You come to Chicago, I'll make you soup.
Yeah, as long as we can stay away from the pizza.
Sure. I mean, I might also make you eat pequods or something. I don't know.
Okay.
It'll be okay. Paul asks, is this Skitaros a manlet or peak perfection? I assume
First of all,
Skitaros is
all the
guy on
Scatros. Come on.
It's how it's spelled in the question.
Yeah,
No,
he's still
I'm
making fun of Paul.
criticizing
He's not
Paul.
making fun of you.
Okay. I think that's really on brand for what Games Workshop is doing with 40K like AdMech, which hurts me deep inside his 30K.
Because they could do
AdMech is
such
so
cooler
cool.
things.
Yeah, because they could be 30K AdMech instead.
I like the Da Vinci style. I like the
I like-
silliness. I like the ridiculousness. I think it's fun.
I think he's cool. I think he's
Whatever,
gonna
we're
get.
gonna move on.
I like
No,
that he can
I'm
see
not
over
even letting you
ruins.
in this. Joel asks, is there one unit type / ability that you think every faction should have at least some access to?
Damage
Sticking
output?
objectives?
Damage.
What? I totally missed the question.
One unit type / ability that you think every faction should have at least some access to. I think they need like keyword or ability, not just
No.
damage.
I don't
Oh,
think
every unit should have an aircraft. Every army should have an aircraft.
And they
There
should
you
all
go.
be fucking awful.
Yes.
There we go.
They can't be good, but I want to see a Death Guard plane.
I want the beam plane
Oh.
to still happen. That's the thing that I want.
You're all
It's
bad.
not going to
Next
be
question.
good.
Shut
It's not
up.
going to be good.
the real answer for that is no. In every army, there is no universal thing that every army should have access to because armies should have different strengths and weaknesses, and limiting creates like new ways to have to try and solve problems. As long as armies have balanced tool sets, they don't have to be the same in the same ways.
Yes, but every army
Damn
needs
it, Innes.
characters.
All right.
In the same way that
Gabe-
Chaos Knights have
Gabe
stalkers in the way that they have
asks-
characters. Like it's not the same, right?
A 2-part question. If you had to be a servitor with one function, what would you be?
I want to be the guy that pulls the trigger of the large guns.
The Nova Cannon? You want to be this one servitor that like is programmed to just push the button to fire
Yeah.
the Nova Cannon?
The guy that's running on a treadmill eternally on the bottom of the Iron Strider, still the one that's like just chained in because it's the only way I'm getting fit.
I was gonna say, dude, we can't get you to run without any tasks now. You want to run forever?
Yeah, but it's the brain that stops me. Like I can figure that out afterwards, right?
Got it.
All right. Second, in the current meta, what would you value more, board presence or lethality?
Yes.
Yes.
Whichever one your army's better at.
Lean hard into that.
Scott M. What units make the 2,000 point cut for a guard list, and is a Baneblade variant one of them? Death Guard plane moves 6 inches. If you're lucky, it moves 6 inches.
Yeah.
No, Death Guard players don't know how far 6 inches is or how long it is.
It's got a hover mode. It goes to 3-inch.
We're gonna skip the guard question entirely and just go to Eric Cultus Chan's question.
No,
If you want to know what's in a
you're
good
not.
2,000, if you want to know what's in a good 2,000 point guard list, look at Frank's dirt sheets.
There you go.
Bam.
Nice
Next.
plug work there. All right. The landscape of content creation has really exploded in the last few years. Between battle reports, rumor reporting, and analysis, it can be hard to keep up with it all. Opinion pieces can also seem pretty wildly inconsistent, even between fairly competent players. If you had to recommend a content creator to listen to, who would it be, assuming I like smooth jazz for segment transition, cozy hearths, and dislike people whose names are alliterative? It's funny because I would have picked Vic Vijay until the last caveat at the end.
I mean, this is clearly them going like a really long way around the bar.
I mean,
to
it's
get
the
you to
weekly.
just-
It's the weekly David Gaylord
Wait,
question. It's
the
just
weekly
this one
David
was really well done. So props
Yeah.
to
Good
you,
job.
Eric. All right, Grant H asks, I wanted to take the Abbey Termy list of my GT in December due to hobby laziness or comfort with the number of reps. What does it look like now? I know it's inferior to the chosen MSU list, but it's what I have done already, and I'm currently at Abbey, 2x10 Nurgle Cultists, an undivided Forge Fiend, a Nurgle Forge Fiend, 4 Nurgle Blitz, 2 undivided Blitz, 2x3 Flamers, 2x3 Nurglings, and the Changeling, because fuck the Blue Scribes model.
Who asked this?
Grant.
This is Grant.
Oh, Grant. I'll fix that for you later as a thank you for being one of our Discord mods.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Preston says plug the league again. So plug the teams league again, I guess. I don't know.
Vibe Check Teams. It's a $1,000 prize pool team event that we're running on Discord. Come and check it out if you've got a bunch of friends, or if you just want to come as a solo player. There will probably still be people looking. Sign-ups last until this Saturday.
There you go. John Winters asks, nicest man. Sorry, thank you. But question was, with the update to the WTC FAQ, what are things that have changed? No more BGNT out of phase, one-shot weapons come back. Am I missing anything?
Those are the two big ones. I don't think there was anything else that was really substantial.
They changed the Incarn not having to place on exactly this, like overlapping the base anymore. It can go anywhere on the rig of the base now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
about it.
Oh,
Because
that's
basically
annoying.
Isn't
it's
that-
before you remove the last model, right? So you can't place it on top. Yeah, okay.
It used to
I
be
thought
center
you-
to center, but
You could never big guns never tire out of phase anyways. That's just a WTC clarification, isn't it?
You could at the WTC,
Oh, I see. Okay, there you go.
and
That
they've
answers
now
that
said
question to me.
ixnay. And you can
Yes.
actually still big guns never tire out of phase, but that's only the bit where you can shoot monsters and vehicles in engagement range, not that you can shoot with monsters and vehicles in engagement range.
There you go. All right, we're almost to the end of these questions. Donald asks, have you considered replacing event wins with X and O? At Kippers, we had 3 undefeated players. No, I haven't considered that. That's why we have the top 4 as part. But we could track X and O's.
Also,
we
stop
do.
running the events that big that end up with 3 undefeateds.
There you go. Scott M asks, what's the faction of the week, though? Sisters, because then next week they're going to be at the bottom of the statistics, because that's how that works every time I say that.
One can hope.
A bunch of people are going to try copying that list from Tampa Bay, and then they're not going to be able to pilot it as well, and
Before
they're
we-
all going to lose.
before we go too far on that, what's the week schedule like? What weekend does World Championships fall on for Sisters? Is it an on week or an off week?
All right. So if this was an on week, the 28th is an on week, the 11th is an on week. That means
Okay,
that
They're
the World
off
Champs
for-
weekend will be an off week.
Okay,
It also
so-
means that San Diego will be an off week as well for the California Cup. So you're safe in America.
So
at
Anthony, we
least.
don't have to worry about Sisters at all.
Never was.
I mean, Jack clearly wasn't until round 8.
Yeah, Jack needs to learn to play with like just a modicum of respect.
And if you guys want the faction of the week thing to be a thing, you got to find a sponsor for it. There you go. All right,
Oh, yeah.
Logan. Logan asks, for the shadow round at LVO, can we use fluorescent glow in the dark terrain and dim the lights for the theme?
Yeah. I mean, everything about playing at LVO is suffering, so why not make the shadow just even worse?
Reasonable. Sam Lemon asks, in professional sports, a common thing to blame is the refs or judges for the match results. How soon will it be before we blame TOs and judges for our match results?
Well, if I was Lennon,
Yeah, I mean, like, soon TM, right? I think if the WTC is
Soon.
big and, like, people watch the stream and feel like their player got robbed or something, that would just happen.
if TOs keep making me play fucking servo skulls,
Yeah, I mean, like, I think there's like a semi-real conversation couched within this, which is like, how, to what extent should events be held accountable for the competitiveness of their mission choices, and like what balance should be struck in an event between, like, you know, for the dude that's just like there to fuck about and like the dudes that are there to like actually try and compete. And I would wager that that second portion is a much larger portion of tournament attendance than people even admit, even to themselves. Because I think it's really easy to be like, I'm just here to fuck around after you've already gone 1 and 2. But I think before that point, most people show up to a ostensibly competitive event with the idea of competing. And I think the idea that we just throw in wackadoo nonsense bullshit fuck around missions is kind of trolling. I like actively avoid tournaments that do that now.
Yeah, it makes sense to like mission choice is a huge deal. I think the bigger one though here is that, and we've talked about this multiple times over the last year and a half, is accountability for TOs and refs at events. TOs and refs and judges and the whole lot need to, one, be approachable, two, be amenable to acknowledging when they've made a mistake and reaching out and trying to correct that and to improve and make things better.
Yeah. I just think that like it's a thing that goes in hands. You can be mad at the refs if the refs are allowed to make decisions. You can't be mad at the refs if they're got their hands tied.
I think also you can be mad at the refs if there's like an actual system that trains them and like oversees refs. It's kind of hard to be mad at refs all the time if they're like not trained and overseen in some kind of official capacity and they're just volunteers.
Most of the time, I don't even need them to be perfect. I just need them to make a decision, though. Like the real issue you usually run into is like the clash of like two players have entered a failed game state and they need someone to resolve it, and the refs being wishy-washy. That doesn't work.
Fair. All right. Next question is, what's your favorite dice? I really like the French dice with the baguette on them. Those ones make me really happy.
The Team Poland dice, because both times I've got them have been on the receiving end of wild rounds for various reasons.
I have a dice with Pumbaa's face on the one.
That's awesome. That is officially the favorite dice now. That is
Where,
that is the favorite.
How?
I need that in my life. The new
Go.
stat check dice that we're having made that should hopefully be here in time for Christmas.
Oh,
Ooh.
sorry. The best dice actually haven't been made yet, and it depends entirely on if Typhus and Pumbaa can convince Team Poland to change their logo for next year.
Yes.
Oh no.
You'll see soon when I get a tattoo of this.
Oh no.
It's so good. We should also can we get super bad dice made up? Like
Super bad. That should be our team name for
yeah, Team Super. We're gonna be Team Super Bad for Alpine this year.
Alpine. Yeah.
100%. The but yeah, I will find my Pumbaa dice. It's in my dice tray. I think I'll grab a picture of it and put it in
Sick.
Discord.
Hell yeah.
I got given it at Silesia team. Someone was like, "We have dice with Pumbaa's face because it's our local club." I was like, "Okay, sure."
All right, we've only got like 2 questions and then super chat questions. We're gonna
Almost
get through
there.
these. How internally balanced do you feel the new Marine Codex is? Not great.
It looks terrible. It looks god awful. Like, you
Are-
run the same units in all the detachments. It's like a clear design failure.
Which, like, I feel like answers Richard's second question, which is, are there some units that you will never take?
Almost
most
all
of
of
Too
them.
long.
Yeah, there you go. Elo Woozle asks, when is the interview with the U.S. Wargaming Federation? It is done. It needs to be edited and posted, I suppose, but it is done. So you can blame Jeremy for that, I guess. I don't know. It probably
Poor
doesn't need to be
Jeremy.
edited that much, but probably just needs a look at to make sure that I don't say anything wildly silly and that the audio
No,
quality
it's
is
on
fine.
me. I've been. I'll be honest. I didn't prioritize it, so I didn't get it done before Tampa.
That's also reasonable. There are
I'll try to
other
get it done in
things-
the next little while. Now that things are ramping up with U.S. Wargaming Fed.
I also don't think anybody except us has seen Jeremy's calendar recently.
Oh man, it's fucking silly.
It's real bad.
Mistakes were
Hey,
made, is all I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna
An event
say I
every single
definitely-
week, 5 weeks in a row, was a real
Foolish
bad
mortal.
idea.
I did definitely see some overlap there with marriage that I don't think is wise anybody should do. Oh, that's a secret. I didn't know. We're going to continue on with our day now and go to super chats.
Well, the good news is I don't think Mrs. Curie listens to the podcast, so you should be all right.
Most
There you
certainly does
go.
not.
Jeremy has editing privileges. He can just cut that.
Yeah,
part
it's
out.
just
Oh,
gone.
there
We're
you
like,
go.
what happened to the question?
Guys.
And all snapped.
Tim Penny continues his trial of laundering money slowly in small pieces by saying 8 is the best number, with several emojis involving an axe and a devil face. Brian just sends £1 for no reason. He said it was to throw off the pattern, which it did.
Yeah.
Brian then says £2 and says, "Don't yuck his yum, Anthony."
All right.
And then Tim Penny continues laundering my money by saying Morphin and Co. accomplished what 6 War Dogs couldn't.
True.
Oh.
Johannes asks a question that I answered, which wasn't a super chat, but I started it. Dylan
Omniscience.
Omniscience mistake sent $10. Longtime listener, first time caller. Admech one trick for a year straight. May the Omniscience have mercy on my soul. And have to ask, what's your take on this tallest boy, the scat man himself, Scat
He's
Rose?
so ugly. I love him.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's,
He is my prettiest boy, and
I'm gonna cut. If I cut the exhaust pipe off on, so he doesn't just have like a hanging
Mm.
Chad.
Yeah.
Like, as if he didn't have that, like I think he's just a good model. There's definitely some cool conversions giving him like the Zakarian capes and stuff like that I think help a ton. But like, I don't hate the base model that much.
I
So,
want to play AdMech so fucking bad, and they keep doing this, and I keep just being like, all right, I guess you don't get money from me.
Anthony is my anger translator for the design aesthetic of 40K AdMech. But what I will
There's gonna
say
be
is that
3
in the
every
40K AdMech design aesthetic, that model is extremely well done. So good job, GW, for following your hearts.
No, fuck you. Bad job, GW. That shit sucks. You have a cool idea, and you're making it garbage. Stop it.
Thank you for.
There's gonna
continuing
be
to do
3
that. All right.
in every
No,
list.
no
You're gonna
more,
get
Ines.
so used to that model.
Alex Taus asks a non-super chatted question, but asked a question, so it got tagged. Give every army a knight equivalent. Make Ines sad. You with me, Curie?
Yes, but in exchange, we remove Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights as factions.
Ooh, wow, that is monkey paw situation bargaining.
I'll take that trade. I'll be the bigger man.
I think most everyone will take that trade. If you only have to ever deal with a single
No.
knight equivalent model in any army.
Let's be clear. I have never lost to either of those armies. I am perfectly fine with those staying.
I just think an armor should be a 300-point model. That's all I'm. Like, not with the stats it has, but just like you should get like
It's like, what the
3
fuck?
armigers and a big knight, and that should be your list. And we're cool with that.
Yeah.
All right, and then one more. No, I take it back.
Too
Too
late
late.
now.
Your monkey paw finger has curled. Domo Do Good asks, "Thank you for $4.99. Suggestions for resources to set up TTS for comp practice."
We have a really well put together channel in the Stat Check Discord called TTS Resources. Use that.
Also, the TTS Discord server is genuinely just pretty good for stuff like that. You can like almost always find the models and stuff like that. I think that's linked on the competitive 40K subreddit. You can find a link to that there. But it's genuinely just like a very, very the community is super great. I have no complaints about like the getting started part of it. Their comp scene is a bit mental, but the TTS scene in general is super like chill and homebrew and in all the right ways.
Yep, and there's a lot of people putting out really good models that are like linked in their thing. So you need to follow it sometimes to find models for everything. Although that's how you also accidentally find out that the first Neurolictor model was the Neurothictor model, and that was the only DTS model available for
And
the
no one
Neurolictor
changed
for a
the name when
while.
they played against me.
Oh, they
so-
really left it? Oh,
Yeah,
God.
and so from now on, whenever I play this person, I just refer to their Neurolictors as Neurothictors, and they get really upset.
The same person who modeled the Neurothictor also added a Neurolictor model later, so there is now just a regular Neurolictor available. On that note, we're out of questions and out of super chats, so we're gonna take us out, Ines.
Go back to the plugs earlier. I'm not doing them again. It's too painful. Check out all the stuff that we do: YouTube, Patreon, Stat Check website, coaching, X and One, Into the Matrix, Cali Cup, Red Dice, Saltar Games on Etsy.
Red dice.
Dirt cheap. Red Dragon for the dice. Saltar Games.
Red
I was
Dice
doing
Dragon.
so almost okay.
It was so close.
You did better doing the other plugs than the end of plugs. Good job, Ines.
I hope everybody's had a great time. Good luck at any tournament you're at this weekend. Smash it. If you're playing Sisters, I hope you have the worst weekend of your life because it always goes that way, yin and yanged it. If you're playing in the Crusade League, invoke the Spirit of Nathan before you crush people. Have a great weekend. See you all for episode 66.
Bye-bye.
Fuck Eldar.
Oh, Jesus.